Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Honor the Feminine podcast. I'm your host, Shannon Ledford, and today we're doing another bonus episode. So Ava Aldinolfi is with me, and we have had such fun sharing the bonus episodes with you, and the feedback has been so amazing. So thank you for sharing yourselves with us as you listen to these. So Ava, welcome.
Hi, Shannon. It's nice to be here again.
So today we're going to step into access points. And do you want to start?
Sure. Why not? Access points. It's such a beautiful thing to explore. Because I know for myself, beginning this journey and, looking for a greater purpose in life and happiness or peace and, all of these things, I wanted someone to just tell me how to do it. And, but what I have found is just because it is your way does not mean it is my way. And so I really love, that's why this conversation feels so important, because I think so many of us they're just like, give me an answer. They're like hungry for something different. And I think that's a great place to start. It's kind of like, when cooking food, you look at the recipe, then you make the dish, and then the next time you make it, you might, change a couple of things. You make it more your own. And then, by the fifth time you're making it, you don't look at the recipe. If someone asked you about the recipe, you're like, I don't know, I just make it, right? And so in some ways that feels like this too. I feel like we all have our own recipe of things, of access points that drop us in, that bring us to the places we're really desiring to be. And that feels like a really beautiful and important point to make, that there is no right way. My way is not the way. Your way is not the way. And that we're really just here helping facilitate or guide others in all of the toolkit options.
Yeah, and that's been a big one for me around building the magical toolkit. There was a time when a new ritual, a new magic tool, a new way of, a new access point to myself would be opened up. And I can remember having the reaction of, not one more thing that I have to do in my morning ritual or in my daily walk through life. And that has shifted a lot for me as I felt into access points.
Yeah.
Because it's not that the recipe that you have to do all of these things.
Yeah.
Now when something new is introduced to me, I can meet it with excitement because I have more of a sense, when we were talking about honing your intuition on the last bonus episode, I have more of a sense of if that's the right thing for this moment.
Yes. So true.
And is it the access point for this moment? And so it's shown up in that way. And additionally for me, it's shown up in the arena of having felt like, at a point in my life, continually being in competition with those around me.
Yeah.
Versus in collaboration and in mutual respect and admiration. And the access points have been part of that shift for me as well. So for instance, if someone's desiring to come and work with me, I want it to feel like it's the right access point for this moment. And if it's not, that's okay. It may never be, or it may just be down the line. So that has lifted a lot of that competitive, there's so much out there, there's so this, there's so that, to, oh, I'm just creating the access point for those that are ready for this right now.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. And just kind of turning around a little bit, I guess also as you were speaking, what came up for me is that I also used to put a lot of pressure on myself. And it's like, okay, so you need to meditate every day, 30 minutes or an hour. And like, I would then, my body, that's like, wasn't responding. I wasn't responding to it. Or at least silent meditation, visualization. It feels like a different thing. But, like I would literally have tears in my eyes, not actually crying. And I would be forcing myself to do this. And I do think that there is something to be said for discipline and trying things out. But then I would ultimately end up shaming myself for not doing the practice. And it's like, this is, if we are shaming ourselves for the practice that we're doing, that we're not doing it right, or that we're not doing it often enough, then we're really defeating the purpose of doing a practice or having an access point anyways. So that's something else that feels important to point out. And then also too, and I'm sure that no one was ever trying to shame me, but I remember in, cause it all came from me, but also like being really attached to being like the good student. Like, for example, when I did yoga teacher training, they're like, you need to be doing yoga every day. It's just like brushing your teeth. And I would just like put so much pressure on myself to make it to a yoga class every day. And when I didn't, and I loved yoga. I still love yoga. But yeah, just like really giving myself like the hardest time for not doing that. So that feels like another thing too. So like really allowing like us all to just be on our own journey, and giving ourselves the compassion for ourselves. We're giving like whoever we're working with the compassion for their journey. Like we get the medicine that we need and the timing that we need it. And just like we kind of said with intuition the other day, like you don't strive for intuition, right? Like same thing. Like you can't, this isn't like you're not working hard to become like more awake or remembering like who we are. Like it's not a striving process. If anything, it's more of a being process. And so allowing the access point and allowing your intuition to sort of take you to your access point. So try different things on, but in a really beautiful, fun, playful way. And then it doesn't have to be like hard or regimented. It can, I feel like you find your way so much more easeful when you are tapped into that place. Like, let's play a game. And then maybe you don't like that game, so you don't play that game again. And maybe that game is meditation, because meditation has been beautiful for so many people. And I do tap into meditation every now and then, but doing it every day and that being my main practice is not my access point.
Yeah. And I think there was something so beautiful that you spoke into around the way we shame ourselves. And to me, that feels like as we shame ourselves, we then radiate shame out and we shame others in our lives. Sometimes the ones, very often I will say the ones that are closest to us. And so it starts this cycle and then they're in shame. And so there's, breaking that cycle and instead feeling into what feels really good to you today in this moment. And that is that real presence with yourself. There's that presence with yourself. And that's part of that honing of the intuition as well. And so these work so beautifully with each other. And so when I feel into my access point a few years ago was really the divine feminine and finding more sisterhood in my life.
Beautiful access point.
A beautiful access point. I can feel that expanding and shifting in the last year, especially in all this internal time that I've done in stoking my internal fire around the sacred marriage, around divine union, around that intertwining of the sacred masculine and the divine feminine within me. And that's a different access point. Right? Like, that's activating different parts of myself. Those are different initiations. And those are what feel really potent right now for me. And in that, a few months ago, it was really starting to put some intention and attention on my sensuality. That, like, that was a part of me that had been closed off, cut off, and that was the access point for my expansion in this moment.
Yeah, gorgeous. And I love how you speak to that, like just putting your intention and attention on something. Because I would say one of my, I guess, stronger access points maybe in the past, I don't feel like I'm quite as in that space now, but just like having like a word for the year and then noticing how different words would come up throughout the year and just having my attention and intention around that word, becomes like an initiation. And then so the lessons come. You don't even have to, you don't force it. You don't have to even like sit with that every single day because you've put it in your body and you've let the universe know this is what I'm looking to create in my life. This is what I want to learn. And then it flows and it happens. And that's just, I think there's so much beauty in that. Like I always, because, the shadow teaches us so much. I find myself quite often at the end of the year, being like, oh my gosh, why did I pick this word? But then, by the real end of the year, you're so thankful, because we tend to have more, if we're doing a word of the year, for example, you're going to have more attention on it in the beginning of the year, the end of the year. And so I find generally starting like November, all of a sudden, like all these like initiations, like these learnings that I hadn't had yet, they're like, okay, we got to finish up this learning. Here we go. Here's this, this, and this. And then it's beautiful because then I get to the first of the year and I can like reflect back on like all these different lessons that I had from just putting a word out there. Like, I want to master this word. And then, actually this year it's been kind of interesting. My word was, reverence. And, I think it was just a month ago. It was like right around the eclipse. And I had a friend ask me what my word was and how my word was going. And I couldn't even remember my word. And the first word that came to me was ecstasy. And I was like, oh, so I'm complete. I finally remembered. I was like, I'm complete with, reverence. I couldn't even remember it. So obviously I'm complete. The word that just came to me was ecstasy. So for the rest of the year, my word is ecstasy. And then just from there, different access points for that come up.
Right.
And like for me, one of my biggest access points is movement. A lot of times I tap into oracle cards, like it flows in and out of all of these like beautiful ways to touch in. I think cacao, drinking deep, dark chocolate cacao can be a beautiful way to drop in. Like,
There's something beautiful too around holding intentions together. Like having a safe space that feels sacred. Often with some other sisters is where it feels the most potent to me or has felt the most potent to me. So that we hold the intentions together.
Yeah, magic is a million times more potent when we are in a collective. We are more powerful. Like the lone wolf, the lone wolf can do it. But we are so much more powerful when we come together, for sure. That's why sister circles and, circles of all kinds are so powerful and so healing. And I guess, yeah, when I speak about my word of the year, I don't keep it to myself. I tell almost everybody with great excitement, like, this is what I'm learning this year. And I think that adds to the magic of it. Just like anything, when we speak something, like if we speak shame, we put light on it, it becomes less shameful. When we speak a desire, that desire gets so much closer to manifestation because it's out in the world and the collective. And even better, yes, if it can be done in a really safe, held container, where it's not just your intention, but the intention of the collective.
Yeah. So my Juice Plus team, each of us picks a word for the year, and then our pinned post in our Facebook group is there's a graphic for word of the year, and then you put your word underneath. And so it's held there in this beautiful container. It doesn't, we're not only holding words of the year, but that's been one of the really potent things that we've done that's simple but held. And the idea of containers has been a newer concept for me over the last couple of years. And the idea of being held in a container and how the energetics of a container work. Like, these are big things.
Yeah, it's interesting too. Like, I think back to, pre all of this stuff. And if someone would have been talking like this, I'd be like, what? What's a container?
So what's a container to you now?
I was actually thinking about that. I was like, I feel like now I should define a container. It feels hard to describe. So for me, a container, just like a container that you would like put your food in or whatever, but even so another way to think about it, like a bank account, like that's a container for your money. It's a place where you put your money, and your money is held and kept safe until you need it. And so we can think of it in terms like that. So in sisterhood, like if you're, for example, like in a group program, whoever's holding, or even a retreat, maybe let's use a retreat, whoever's holding that retreat, they're creating a container, which I also see as portals. Mm. So, but it's like this space that has a border. It is contained energetically, right? Because we're speaking of an energetic space. But you can also think about it being a room, an energetic room. It has walls. It has boundaries. And that space is generally infused with energy that is there to hold something. And, generally it's there for the unfoldment of whatever experience is being brought to life. So it's there to hold your pain. It's there to hold your joy. It's there to hold whoever's coming in a very safe way so that they can surrender to the experience. Mm. So just as if you're with your partner, or even think about being a child and you're scared and you want someone to hold you, it's like that. It's like being held, but the container is holding you with the facilitation of the guide or whoever's holding the retreat.
Yeah, I think there's some really beautiful things around the setting up of a container and then the holding in the collective of the container. Mm.
Yeah. There doesn't have to be one person holding it.
Right. And I think totally. I've lone wolfed that a lot, actually. Okay, here's the container. I'm infusing it. Here's the energy. Here we go. And then everybody sort of get in, right? Mm-hmm. and I'll hold the whole thing. And the warrior in me, is innate to that. Mm-hmm. Innate to that way of thinking, right? I can do it. I got everybody. Everybody just have their experience. What I've learned in my softening of myself and my warrior is I have a great ability to create container. But those containers flourish when everyone within the container also holds it.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost as if I'm a container creator, and it's not that I create them and then walk away, but for me, my medicine, and then the medicine of all those that are with me, is around how we collectively hold each other. And that has been huge for me. And it's a place where I still, dance and put attention on, because it still comes up a lot, actually.
Yeah. So how I visually see it as you speak about it, which is so important and true, it's such a great point to make, is that I can see this, it's outside for some reason. But it's like a grassy area. There's a fire in the center, and you or whoever would be holding something is like standing behind the fire. And then there's almost like this, there isn't an actual like stone border, but it looks like there's a pathway, and then it opens up in like sort of a circular space. And what happens is you're there calling the women in, they walk in, and you all hold hands. And so then it's not just you anymore. Yeah, it's like you all become the container, yeah, for each other in a collective, holding it.
And that's the structure that I often talk about, the structure that's, for me, necessary for the divine feminine to flow into. Right? So she has room to dance and move.
Yeah, you guys, Shannon is a master at this. For me, myself, I'll just say that coming out of the wounded masculine, if you will, like in a corporate space and striving space, I dove headfirst into the feminine and really sort of rebelled against all of those, more masculine structures, if you will. And I've honestly had a hard time coming back into finding structure. And Shannon has kept reminding me it doesn't have to look the same. She's found a way. And for me, I think my fear is like, I'll lose all my magic. I don't want to lose my magic. But she's really helping me find the way of the structure so that I can flow. And it is
amplify
amazing.
Your magic. Like there's a way in which the structure being in place doesn't dampen your magic and be rigid. It amplifies. It's that space to amplify your magic. Like even in that visual with the rocks, it's like if you're in the middle there and you're feeling held by the structure, your magic can amplify out. Absolutely.
Yeah. How I see it too is the way my energy works is I can be in, 20 places at once. And that tends to happen because I don't have the structure, right? So my being is just, it's like spilt water on the floor or like an overflowing river, right? And so then it's like with the structure that you speak of, it's like that now, like that river it knows where to go, or that energy knows where to go. And so instead of like trying to do 20 different things out in the ethers, it can be more laser focused. And then the impact can actually be that much bigger because it knows where, again, like it knows where to go. Without the structure, it doesn't know where to go. Big difference.
And those structures are dynamic as well. Important, but not rigid.
Yeah.
Right? That's an important point for me, actually. And it's interesting because, your visualization's a circle. That was my feminine portal. My sisterhood portal was very circular. Now, with the intertwining of the sacred masculine and the divine feminine energy within, it feels like a figure eight where the energy moves along the figure eight.
Yeah, we talked about that a lot for our program.
Yeah. And that's actually the way it feels like it happens in my body too.
That's how I connect my chakras. It's with figure eights.
Yeah. I mean, there's
gorgeous energy.
There's a resonance there.
There's more flow in a figure eight. Really.
Yeah.
For me. That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's that point in the center of the figure eight where the figure eight container can be birthed out of, but then the energy just flows along and it's being held by all of us. This has been fun. I didn't really know we were getting to containers today, but access points got us there really beautifully.
Yep. You never know what's going to unfold. It's the beauty of it.
Do you have any final thoughts?
I actually feel really complete.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also feel pretty complete. There's some inkling of something. It's around the structure that we're talking about in the container. It's really there's a real importance to that when we're being activated, so that we're really held.
Oh, yeah. Actually, okay. So here I have more than. So if you don't know, Shannon and I have been doing a series called 11 Days of Devotion to Divine Union. We had our last interview last night, and we were talking about Daniel having his Kundalini experience, and we were curious about integration and the important piece that because what happens is so many people that get blown wide open, they don't know what to do with it. And he happened to have an amazing guide to help him through all that. And so that feels like the same thing here. Like, as we're having these activations, we need that place where we are held so that we aren't just blown wide open and, or like walking the streets in a daze. Like, that integration piece is so important. And it's the container, the held, safe container that really helps us to step into integration.
That's it. Yeah, we all want the activation, but the gold's in the integration. And that happens in the container. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so we're here to have a human experience, right? So we're not just trying to travel, up to the stars. We're here in this body. And so, yes, let's activate it. But then we need to learn how to translate that into our everyday lives. And we do that in sisterhood. We do that through programs. We do that in the container where it's really safe.
And that brings us full circle back to access points, because it's feeling into, is this the access point? Is this the container for the moment to help me with that activation, integration, and expansion that I'm really desiring? Those are the questions I'm beginning to ask as I am stepping into that saying yes, right, in my body. So, yeah. Awesome. So in conclusion here, we are doing, Ava mentioned, a free video interview series with just the men and women and couples that joined us on this blow us away. This is potent. And so if you're feeling more into divine union, or you're wondering what that means, that's what we're doing over 11 days beginning September 18th. So you can go over to rememberingdivineunion.com and just sign up there, and then you'll get those videos in your inbox starting on the 18th.
Oh, it's going to be so good.
Oh, it's so good. We're all the interviews are done now. They're really potent. We're just bringing them together to bring them to you now. And it has been, this is one of the most potent things I've done to this point. That series. Yeah.
It's deep.
It's deep. But it's also a really beautiful access point to divine union, if that's something that's been up. And I think it's up in the collective. And I think that's what we learned through these conversations as well.
It's so up in the collective.
Yeah. And what bringing together what ends up being 13 people, because we had 2 couples join us, is all the different perspectives and access points that could resonate with you. It activated, just in doing the interviews, it was activating for me.
Yeah, I was going to say these are activations.
Yeah, they are, for sure. So again,
and with that, we also have a group to hold you in through those activations.
Right. Yeah. So we've got a group on Facebook called Honoring Divine Union. And that's a place where we'll be discussing and feeling into how these resonated and touched you. So again, we invite you to go over to rememberingdivineunion.com and sign up for the 11 days of devotion with us. All right. Have a magical day.